No, so
Yes, sir.
what I want to talk about now is something I'm very fascinated about. Um, Now people won't know. Well, a lot if people don't follow you, they won't know this. But you're actually a part of Captain Phillips, weren't you? The film with Tom Hanks.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. With
he's
Tom and
one
everybody.
of my
Yeah,
favorite actors.
I'm the one that rescued Tom at the
Yeah, yeah,
end.
he's
Yeah,
one of my favorite.
good times. Tom's good
Yeah, he's
people.
one of my favorite films of all time. He's Forrest Gump. I love that film. So when I found out you were working alongside him in Captain Phillips, I was just like, I have to ask you about that. That must have been. To be fair, I think Tom Hanks is one of the best actors of the last sort of 30 years plus. He's amazing.
I fell into that
Yeah.
role on accident too because when I applied for
Mm,
that role and I didn't get it, so I was an extra, and I wasn't going to be an extra because I was a shooting instructor making more
mm.
money, and I didn't know, but Kevin Spacey and Dana Brunetti were the executive
Okay.
producers, and I got a call by a guy named Dana, and I didn't even know who he was, and he said, "Hey, we really like your look, we like your tattoos, we like your size. We were told you make about $650 a day working as a firearms instructor." I said, "Yeah," and I took off 2 weeks, and I didn't get the part, so thank you. I'm just going to go on vacation. He goes, "Well, what if I gave you 700 a day for 2 weeks?" Now we're talking, So we went in there, and I was supposed to be an extra, and just so happened I ran into Dana again. At the time, I had a HSE 2006 Range Rover. He had a brand new one. I could tell he had money, but it said Dana Brunetti. I had no clue who he was. But we had all these like he was going to have a daughter. My daughter was young at the time. He had a '69 original Mustang, which is worth
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
astronomical amounts of money. I had a '70 Bronco. So anyway, the guy that was supposed to have the part that I did, the ferry broke down and he couldn't make it. And we just started talking. He's like, "Hey, Ray, right? Cash." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go down to wardrobe and just put on your little SEAL uniform, your little SEAL outfit, and I want you to come back up." And I was like, "What? My what?" He goes, "Your costume." I'm like, "I wear camis. I don't wear, I'm sorry, good, good, good." So I'm like, "You just want me to walk down?" He goes, "Yeah, just tell him Dana sent you." I'm like, Dana Brunetti. Okay, who's Dana Brunetti? He goes, "I'm the executive producer of the film with Kevin Spacey." I'm like, "Had no clue, buddy. Sure, I'll go do it." So I walk down, I put on the camis, I walk back up. There's a crowd of people gathered around, and he's like, "Come here, I want you to meet somebody." I said, "Okay." Swear to God. And Tom Hanks is always eating. I call him tapeworm. He eats more chicken wings than
Yeah.
anybody I've ever met in my life. And he was eating something, and they were like, they move everybody away, and they're like, "Hey, Tom, this is Ray." And he goes, "Hey, I'm Tom Hanks." I looked at him like, "No fucking shit." And he just laughed. And anyway, he wanted to go over. When you film a movie, you film out of sequence. I didn't know that. First movie I've ever done. I did TV shows, but so you can film during the day and it looks like night and all this stuff. And they're like, "Here's the scene, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Okay." So they're like, "Okay, why don't you and Tom go over here and talk?" I was like, "What?" So we go over there and Tom's like, "Okay, what do you do?" I said, "I do this, 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 this." And he goes, "Okay, rates, cash?" "Yeah." I'm like, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Stop. Just call me Tom. I don't know what to do. So you lead and I'll follow." I was like, "Okay." So they literally put us on a boat, on the side of a boat, and they hover it down, but we're not in the water. And it looks like we are. And they're like, "And action." And I did all these lines. "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And you got a little piece of it. And I sweep and I do all this stuff. They got these two cameras in her face. And cut. It's over with. I sit there and I'm like, "Holy fuck." And, they start talking. And Tom's like, "What you think?" I'm like, super intimidated. He goes, "How do you think I felt being with you?" And I was like, "Wow." Well, anyway, they go and talk, and they look like a huddle, and they look up at me, and they're doing this shit. And I'm sitting there like, "Oh my God, I'm going to get thrown off the thing." And a couple of the other SEALs are walking up,
Yeah.
the real SEALs, and going, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then some guy grabs me and he goes, "Hey, you now have a role in the picture, and we need to get you in with SAG." And I'm like, "I don't know what any of this means." And Tom just looks at me and goes, "It's good. It's good." So, the paychecks were coming, but we had a
Yeah.
good time. I met him, great friends with Max Martini. I still keep in touch with Max. I talk to Tom once
Yeah.
in a blue moon, but not as
Yeah.
much as I used to.